good afternoon, everyone. How are you?
Very good.
Well, welcome to the MACSC breakout session. My name is Yola Cleobulu, and I am the program chair for the program. And so today the intention is to share with you a little bit more information around what the MAC is really all about. And we have some recent grads and some current students here who will also share their insights with you. So this is for the Master of Arts in Child Study and Education. To begin, I'd really like to welcome our director from the Dr. Eric Jackman Institute of Child Study, Dr. Rhonda Martinussen.
Good afternoon. Welcome, and I'm very happy that we host. I'm actually one of the faculty who teach in the program, and I used to be Yola's job, so we just keep trading. And it's great because it's a really special place. It's a part of it's an old house. My office actually has a fireplace in it. It doesn't work, but it looks good. So we have a very strong philosophy around child study and children being the center. The Institute does research. Is that my phone?
I don't know.
It's ours.
It's my phone. I'm so sorry.
Oh, it's okay.
Yeah, that was mine.
It's all.
Sorry, keep going. It's okay.
We also have a strong community in that, it's a very small place. It's not like OISE, like OISE, but it's huge. And so in our space, it's 3 floors, 1 block, people, kids, teachers, students, professors, Vanessa, who fits many categories of help. And we're all there to figure out how to best support children and people who want to be teachers in the educational field. And so it's a very cozy place to be, as I think you'll hear later. And we appreciate Yola really highlighting a lot of the things that we do on a daily basis, because we are truly a tripartite mission: research, educational practice, and the lab school. And then we've got our kind of teacher education mandate. How do we support the next generation of teachers?
So that's the Jackman Institute of Child Study. Rhonda's the director. We are the MACSC, and we are also then part of a department here at OISE. Thank you, Rhonda. Okay. So if you have any questions about the Institute, happy to answer those at the end. Really, what we're about in the MACSC is helping you become the best teacher you can be. That is our mandate, that is our hope, and that is our plan for you. So we are a teacher education program. We are at the graduate level, and I'll talk about what that looks like. Some of the key features in our program are the following. We specialize in primary junior teacher preparation. So our program is only primary junior. Our faculty are specialists in the early years and elementary education and pedagogy. We prepare you to be teachers from kindergarten to grade 6. That's what your certification would be in our program. Our emphasis is on child study. We look at teaching through the lens of child study. And that's really about looking at children at the center of the learning. We focus on their needs. We look at children holistically, understanding who they are as individuals within their social context. And then we start thinking about, as a teacher, what do I do? How can I be the best teacher I can be to support children? Our courses, because we're here at OISE, because we are privileged to be a graduate level program, are at the graduate level. Both your required courses and your electives are at the graduate level. We have a very unique practicum structure, which I will share with you in a little bit. We've talked about the Laidlaw Research Center as one of the parts of the tripartite mission. So we have in our building a beautiful research center that houses and hosts faculty from here and beyond that study child study. And so our students have access to labs, to research projects, and to faculty who share the same interests. And really exciting is the lab school. How many people have heard of the lab school? Oh, that's amazing. Okay, so you have opportunity to engage with the teachers, with the children, have placements, in the lab school, you walk into our building and you hear laughter. Sometimes you hear tears, but you know, it's there, and so you just feel it as part of your home experience. And really to just emphasize again, because we're a smaller program, community is really, really important to us. And we want our candidates to feel part of a community. And really, when you leave our program, you have an identity as a CSE grad. So one of the things that I work very hard to create within the program, and I'm actually studying this, is program coherence. So we're not just a program that has a course on how to teach literacy, how to teach math, how to teach science, human development. Like, it's not just like this web of courses, but we come together as a faculty and talk about how are we approaching this? What's really important? What are you focusing on in your course so I can pull that up when I talk about social justice education? What are your assignments looking like? Can we connect so when our students are studying about teaching social science, that we can really connect that beautifully to your PEI project? So we look at coherence across the courses. Our practicum team comes to our academic courses, so the team that goes out to the schools to support you in your placements, they know what's happening in your coursework. So when you feel that tension between look at what's happening in reality and look at what this textbook is telling me, we can talk about that with you. And our intellectual and social community at JICS really does come together in many different ways. And so one of those ways is the teacher education and lab school shared space. And just so, as I mentioned, you will hear the laughter in the hallways. You'll be invited to assemblies held by the school for the children. This shared space is really central to the MACSC experience. I teach the Friday seminar class, and the seminar class is really an opportunity for you to come to discuss your practice teaching experiences. I teach a little bit around things like planning, lesson planning, developing the learning environment. What is classroom management, and what should it really look like, if it needs to look like anything at all? And then the teachers come up into our class, and they'll tell you what they live every single day, and they'll provide you with more ideas in our space. And sometimes we go and revisit them in their space too, and we have some opportunity for observation. We conducted a study a few years ago that looked at 15 years of our teacher education program, and we asked our graduates what were some of the highlights, and this is what one person said. The direct connection to the lab school, seeing the classrooms, and also when the teachers came and presented to our class were some of the most valuable moments that stuck with me. In terms of the program structure, our practice teaching and the academic courses are intertwined. And so we value your time in the classroom, and we want you to be present in that space. At the same time, we want to make your course assignments as relevant and as alive as possible. So you may have academic course assignments that are related to your practicum experience. That's one example. I mentioned how the practicum team, the coordinators who set up your placements and visit you at your school, they come to our academic courses. And so these are some of the ways that practice teaching and academic courses are intertwined. Our program is nestled in research-informed practice, and that's through the identification of effective evidence-based practice within an equity frame. So how do children learn to read? So we look at that and we deepen our understanding of how they learn to read, and what then happens when you have struggling readers. What do you do? So it's not just, here's how you teach reading, but how do children learn to read? And we look at that through an equity frame. So I study equity. I study equity through the lens of social justice. Rhonda studies and teaches equity. She does it through special education. We look at how do we think about teaching and learning so all students have equitable access and success. We have strong partnerships with our practice teaching schools. Many of our practicing, like we call them associate teachers, our associate teachers, many of them are our graduates. So they know the heart of our program, they know the lens which we use, and so it's a very nice relationship. And even when they're not our graduates, we have wonderful partnerships with our local schools. Because you're a graduate, you're coming into a graduate program, we really do emphasize the research infusion. And so across the program, across the courses, you will develop research skills, whether it's learning how to read research articles, learning how to discuss and analyze and situate those readings within the broader context. Thinking about methodology, those things are embedded in the coursework. You will engage in a practice-based inquiry project, and one of our recent grads will talk to you a little bit more about that. But this is a piece of the program that happens in first and second year, where you learn basic information around practice-based inquiry, and then in your second year you actually engage in your own inquiry out of your own interest. So say you're interested in learning about how to improve struggling readers' reading. That could be your focus, and you study it and you read about it, and then you collect data around particular elements of your own practice teaching, and you figure out, how do I improve this practice? So you have that opportunity in our program. There are many opportunities for volunteer and paid research, and things like graduate assistantships, research assistantships, work study opportunities. So if you're looking for both paid experiences and research, they do exist within the program, and Vanessa is a wonderful person to talk about this. And if you leave, when you leave your information, she will also email you some of this, just so you have access to it. Our program is 90% faculty here at OISE who are teaching in the program, tenured faculty. And so there is wonderful opportunity to engage in their research labs. And that could be as much as you need or want it to be. And so you have research opportunities there too. Now, I'm not going to spend too much time talking about this, but I really did want to emphasize that we take a lot of time when we think about our program. How do we ensure that we're meeting graduate level degree expectations? And so the university requires us to ensure that we are meeting graduate level expectations, and according to the university, these are the learning outcomes that are required, and then we think about and talk about, well, what does that look like in our teacher education program? And so we're very intentional about how we do things. When we move into orientation, I spend a little bit more time there going through some of that with you, so it's a little bit more explicit. I'd like to talk a little bit about the practice teaching placements, because I think this is something that's quite unique in our program and many people are very interested in hearing about. So in our program, our teaching placements that are required within the program all take place in Toronto. So you will either be placed in the Toronto District School Board, the Toronto Catholic District School Board, or an independent school in Toronto. And there are many good reasons for that, which I will explain, but it's just really important to note that your required placements, 3 in first year, 1 in second year, all take place within Toronto. In your first year, there are 3 practice teaching blocks. They're each 8 weeks long, and you attend those in the mornings. So Monday to Thursday morning, you go to your teaching placement, and then you come back to the McCarthy House, and we have our courses there together in the afternoon. And we're very intentional about that model because we feel it brings practice and theory more closely together. You go to your placement, you engage in your experience, then you come back, and then you're learning about child study, and you can ask those critical questions that are grounded in something you saw or that you actually did. And you can tell your prof, that happened in placement, and you're telling me this, and that is not happening in my placement. Can you please tell me why? Can we please unpack this a little bit and maybe think about what can or should be done to make that better? Now, in between years 1 and 2, there's the spring and summer sessions, and you do have to take courses. But you have an optional block 4. It's optional. You don't have to take it, but if your heart is screaming, I want York Region District School Board as part of my experience, that's the time to take the optional block. And you can do it in any board, and we'll set that up for you and help you out. I'm really excited to share that we at the program have established a practicum placement up north near Nakina, Ontario, which is 4 hours from Thunder Bay. 25 minutes from there is Arrowland Reserve First Nations, and our students, 4 of our students are going to their school for a 4-week block placement, and we are so excited to be able to have this experience. In your second year, you have 1 internship, and that will take place in either the fall term or the winter term. And here is this wonderful opportunity to spend 13 weeks in 1 classroom setting where you learn with the students, you grow as a teacher, you work closely with your host teacher, and by the time you finish, you really feel like you are the teacher in the classroom. And so we have this internship model in your second year. This is what someone said from our larger study. Practicums gave me a vital experience as well as connections for after graduation. The staff working in the program, that's the coordinators they're referring to, such a wonderful group of supportive educators. Always being available to answer questions and help in any way was vital for me to gain the confidence I needed when I was unsure of how to proceed. And so I hope we've given you a better understanding of our vision for teaching and learning and how we are really nestled in a child-centered approach. And when we think about that, this is what we think. Children are challenged to think independently, use their natural curiosity to critically investigate the social and natural world, and to gain the skills and communicate with others, becoming engaged citizens. Every student is viewed as an individual, unique in her combination of development, culture, lifestyle, learning approach, temperament, and special talents. So we really do, the lab school, the institute, we really do build on an inquiry-based model for child-centered learning, and this is a significant part of our vision. This quote came up numerous times in our study of our 15 years of graduates, and we're really, really excited to see this, and it just sort of summarizes in a nutshell what we're about. In our program, we really focus on the why behind everything you do as a teacher. Not necessarily the how, because you will see the how in many different ways, and we do teach the how as well, but most importantly is why. Why are we doing this? What is the effect? What is the impact? Why are we doing it this way? I'm going to end on a very hopeful and positive note, and this also came out of our study of our 15 years of teachers. The ones that were in their last 5 years of graduating from the program, we said, what have you been doing? And you can see here the statistics are quite wonderful. Most of our graduates are in full-time, long-term occasional or supply teaching roles, but also, and as we talked about in the auditorium, our program is more than teacher preparation, and many of our graduates do work in an education-related field or not, but that they find employment that they're passionate about and really, really excited about. So again, I'd like to end with our website. Please check it out. There's a lot more information there. I'm going to stop now so you can hear from our amazing current students and grads, and then we'll open up for questions. So thank you. So, 3 of our current students.
All right, yeah, hi. So all 3 of us are currently second-year students right now, so we're definitely in the thick of it, and we're happy to answer any questions and give you some insight. Okay, yeah, so my name is Rachel, and I, just if you have any questions afterwards as well, I can speak to French very well. That's where I'm really passionate about, and that's where I do my placement. And also Karina can speak to French because she's also, so we're both currently right now in French permanent placements for our internships. So if you have any questions questions about that, we are very happy to answer what's going on with that. Yeah, to start us off, just for something that I would like to maybe mention is we talked about the practice-based inquiry project, and for just an example that's kind of more concrete, my focus right now is like on French, so it's actually focused on French oral language in my classroom. So I'm really looking at how I can ensure my students are using French in a really specific way and not just using English in the classroom really at all. So I'm really focusing on reading a lot of articles and professional articles and seeing how I can integrate research best practices inside my classroom and seeing how that works in real time.
So I'm Karina. I'm also in a French placement. I'm also not from Toronto, so I live in Richmond Hill, but so far north it's practically borderline Newmarket. And I think for those who are not in Toronto, you might be able to relate in that the application process for this may not seem that applicable because first of all your placements are in Toronto, and I know when I was applying I was thinking, is it worth it? Is it worth it for that long commute? Or also because once I graduate I know I'm not going to be teaching in Toronto, so what's the point? But I would say now that I made this decision to come and be in this program, I'd say it's 100% worth it because the experiences that I get here, the networking, and just it is so worthwhile in that the placements, yes, they may not be in York Region, which is where I want, but they ground me in the community of each school. I get to form so much stronger and longer relationships with every single one of my teachers and the school community, and it is just so cool to see how placements and teaching actually can come together, contrary to what people say. And one last thing that I really love about this program is that I actually also came in, like Rachel, in a similar way with a lot of questions about teaching. I've always wanted to be a teacher ever since I was a young child, but I came in without probably not the best, I didn't exactly like everything about the educational system. And so I came in with a lot of questions on how can I be a teacher in the environment that I am. And I'm so grateful that the professors and the faculty here, rather than giving me cookie cutter answers, have really just encouraged me to keep pushing and keep questioning and keep trying to find myself and what does it mean to be a teacher in the current environment that you're in. And rather than trying to solve or put a band-aid on it, they really have just been trying to encourage me to keep finding those answers. And I think that's not something that you find elsewhere.
So my name's Nicole, and I'm in the academic term of the second year. And for me, my background was, I'm coming in as this is my second career kind of thing. I was in the full day kindergarten program as an ECE with the Toronto District School Board. So I was there for about 6 years, and then made the decision to come here because I felt like I'm already working with children, so I might as well get paid better than the way I was supposed to be getting paid. So for those of you who have ECE backgrounds, you know where I'm coming from. So yeah, so I made the decision to come. I got in, thank God. And the process has been, the learning experience has been amazing. I mean, for me to actually use what I had from before and now apply it to here is obviously an amazing experience in itself. But then my first worry afterwards was, okay, I've been working in kindergarten for 6 years, why am I gonna do a kindergarten placement? But then I realized, like I had spoken to one of the practicum coordinators, that each room is different, and it's true. Like you'll learn that in each practicum, every room is different. So while you may feel like, oh my gosh, you know what, I did some volunteer work in grade 4 class, every room, every teacher is different. So you'll learn to understand that while some experiences may be great, some experiences may not be so great. And one of the things that we learn from that is that you learn to either say, okay, well, this person I'd like to emulate, this person I will choose not to emulate, right? So you take what you learn and figure out what you need to do with it, and you go from there. In terms of support from the staff, from the program coordinators and the practicum team, I think for me, especially coming in with a family, children, other responsibilities, it's been amazing because I've always felt like I can go to anybody that I need to speak with, any of the professors, to kind of express what I'm going through, and I've always had support. So if you need any help on that end, I'm here to answer those questions.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
We have 3 students who are graduates from last year that are here to share with you what they've been up to.
Hi, I'm Stephanie Phoenix. Hi, I'm Kara Brownlee.
I'm Jason Moore.
Hey, Jason, I'm sorry to interrupt. Can you stand inside the table?
Oh, is this
Yeah.
the building box? Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness. Thank you. Yeah, everyone else was.
Okay, so we'll kind of go one at a time. I've written things down because I don't want to forget what to say, but this is a story I want to share with you about how I never wanted to be a teacher. Bear with me because I promise it will make sense. 3 years ago, I decided, almost on a whim, to apply to graduate school. I had a job, I had a partner, I had 3 children, a dog, a cat, even some fish. I had a lot going on in my life, but for whatever reason, I wanted to be busier. So I started to look into master's programs at OISE. I can remember applying for a program that was not the MACSE. And I know I said it will all make sense in a minute, I promise, we're getting to it. I'll be honest, I didn't have all the requirements for the other program, but I owe the program an immense amount of gratitude because that program led me, albeit somewhat indirectly, to the Master of Arts in Child Study and Education at OISE, because when I was applying, I decided to take advantage of the opportunity to apply to other programs, and that's how I found this. So this is where my don't ever want to be a teacher self began to evolve into something a little different. That application was the start of something big, but I had no idea at the time. When I attended my interview for the program, something clicked. Perhaps it was the warm welcome to JICS from first and second year students. Perhaps it was the engaging discussion I got to have with a professor from the program and a JICS teacher about all things child and education related. Whatever it was, all I know is that I walked out of that interview and I picked up my phone and I called my husband and I said, I better get into this program because it's all I want to do in the whole world. And needless to say, I'm here now because it all worked out. There is this impossible to put into words feeling about the MACSE program, and I think everyone would agree. And that's kind of the greatest challenge speaking to you about it today. Yes, we have a widely respected, academically rigorous, graduate level training program for teacher candidates, but it's so much more. This positive vibe that oozes out of everything. It welcomes you and it encourages you and it makes you know that you belong here. The courses I took were inspiring, the professors were engaging, and I learned so many practical things about being a teacher through my practicum placements. If, like me, you're at all worried about them, I want you to trust me. I will implore you to go into every one, as you've already heard, with an open mind. You learn about teaching, absolutely, but they're also an opportunity to learn about receiving feedback, interacting with colleagues, and all kinds of general life skills I might not have even predicted. The practicum coordinators work very hard to offer varied placements. To give you an example, my first placement was at an all-girls private school in a kindergarten class. My next placement was at an inner city school where the student population is drawn from 22 surrounding apartment buildings. I learned so much from each placement, and I actually continue to be in contact with all of my associate teachers today. In the spring, I took a job as an assistant teacher in the junior kindergarten class at the Jackman Institute of Child Study. And turns out, I guess they kind of liked me because they asked me to stay on as an associate teacher in the classroom this year, which means I now get to spend my days co-teaching in the company of 23 3- and 4-year-olds and some pretty amazing colleagues as well. So here I am, the person who never wanted to be a teacher, and it turns out I am one. And thanks to my experience in the MACSE program, I think I've learned how to be a pretty great one at that. I'm happy to answer any questions you may have about the program, particularly if you have children or other commitments and you want to find out more about how to fit it into your very busy life, because it is possible. So I wish you lots of luck on your academic journey.
All right, so my story is a little bit different than Stephanie's. So I have wanted to become a teacher since I was, I don't know, probably 3 years old. Everybody in my family is in education somehow, and so when I was looking at teacher education programs and I stumbled upon the MACSE program, said, this is the one for me. I don't care about all the others, so I put all of my eggs in one basket, applied to this one, hoping that they would select me. And what I would like to say about that is they do a really, really great job of finding the people who are really right for the program, who are really, really going to to benefit from the program's teachings, and so if it's meant for you, they find you. So I just wanted to give you that little bit of hope. But I wanted to focus on the practice-based inquiry course that we do in year 1, and the professional practice project that we do in year 2, and just share some of my experiences about that. So these 2 courses are, I think, a defining feature of the MACSE program. There is nothing like these courses in any other teacher education program, I think in Ontario, because I'm pretty sure I looked at every single one of them before just applying to the MACSE. So it's a really, really special part of what makes the MACSE program so fantastic. So these 2 courses really help you develop your skills as a teacher researcher. And so in that, I mean, these courses help you build the skills to determine, am I getting better, and how do I know? And also, are my students getting better, and how do I know? So even as an occasional teacher now, I'm able to go into classrooms daily and be a reflective practitioner and say, are these students getting better? How do I know? Even if it's just for a day, it really gets you into that mindset of being able to critically think about your own learning and how that is progressing your students' learning. And you learn about the professional learning cycle, which is something that teachers, even just now in boards, are beginning to do and have been doing and are modifying it. And so having that actual real-life experience in engaging in a professional learning cycle in your second-year internship is paramount, I think, to your development as a teacher researcher. And so with that, I thought, my background is in early childhood education, and so my internship was in a kindergarten class. Thought it was going to be just fantastic. I would be excelling at everything. It would be great. And then this professional practice project kind of comes along, and it makes you kind of challenge yourself a little bit. It kind of puts you out there in a way for you to learn more about your teaching practices. And boy, did I learn a lot about my teaching practices. It was great, but it was also a way for me to really reflect on how I thought of myself as a teacher before and how I think of myself as a teacher now. So that's really kind of what I wanted to share with you today, is how that defining feature of the program is just incredible for your development as a teacher.
Two very well-established teachers with their notebooks and everything. And, I've got a ratty piece of paper, so bear with me. I'm Jason, and I am OCT certified. However, I am not working in a school setting right now, so I am one of the other 20% that is working in an education-related field. So I am working for a nonprofit as an educational coordinator who provides role models and mentorships to Indigenous communities in the Arctic. And so I just wanted to briefly talk about how I sort of arrived there and a little bit about the program. When I came into the program, I thought I knew what kind of teacher I wanted to be and where I wanted to be at the end. And so quickly you learn in this program that part of the growth that you do is challenging yourself and committing to that process of unlearning, which I think is a really valuable takeaway for me personally and professionally. So that is something that I wanted to share with you, that it's not only academics and career focused, but it is also challenging to you as a person, which is great. Also, finances. I was returning to school from the workplace, and so not working was a major concern for me, and so I applied to research assistantship, and I was fortunate enough to spend 2 years working on a language revitalization project. And so the program, the MACSE program, and the research assistantship sort of work in parallel, where the research was independent. However, what I was learning through this program complemented and enhanced what I was doing as work, and vice versa as well. So that is something that I think is worthwhile pursuing if you're concerned about finances or research, or how to pursue things independently outside of the program. So that's all I'm going to add. Thank you.
So, I
know that related to what Jason said about working as a research assistant, people might not know there's something called the OGS, which is the Ontario Graduate Scholarship. And if you had an A- or greater in your final 2 years of undergrad, you may want to consider applying. It's quite a bit of money, and people often don't know to apply because the deadline falls before you're actually a student in this program or any other program. So I thought I would alert you to that. There's information on the blue sheet that you got, and there's a link to the website. I'll email it so you don't have to painfully type out that URL. And there's also a contact if you get stuck where you can look to for support, because I'm not an expert in that award, but I wanted to bring it to your attention because it might be really worthwhile for someone. And then another one is the graduate assistantship, same kind of thing, where you might want to check it out and see whether that's something that is worth applying for. Okay, that's it.
So I just want to end by sharing,
And the box.
I wanted to thank our students, our grads for coming today. I am so extremely proud of the MACSE student body. Our students are hardworking, they are positive, they are innovative, and more like they are so open-minded to possibility. And that's the kind of student we're looking for. That's the kind of teacher we hope for in our communities. So we are here now to answer some questions for you. And you know, once we finish here, you're also welcome to go down to the library. We have a table there with 3 more students who'll share more insights with you, and we can go from there. So,
And there are experts from the Office of the Registrar, so if you have kind of like a nitty-gritty admissions question that has to do with your transcripts and things like that, we probably won't be able to answer that for you, but the experts down in the library can. And I didn't want you to stand in a great big line or something and then realize that he can't even do anything for you. So there you go. I'm gonna turn this off.
any questions?